Even Tyler 1 got the challenger playing jungle? Is this role easy or strong, or maybe he's just good? I don't know. Hello Summers and welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Nathan Ng and today we'll be discussing a controversial topic about why the jungle feels so strong in Season 10. There are many sides to this argument, but today we're going to be laying down the facts. For our question of the day, do you think the jungle role is overpowered? Let us know in the comments down below and I look forward to seeing what you guys think. Before we get started, make sure to visit our website at ProGuides.com where we have live group classes for top tier instructors like Zyrene, Mike Young, Saskio, and Bo Belter. There's even courses from your favorite pro players like Doublelift, Loco Doco, and Nightblue. With all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. In order to give you our opinion on whether the jungle role is strong or not, we need to give you guys some context about the roots of a jungler. So what is a jungler's job? Simply put, the main job of a jungler is to farm camps and find opportunities to help the laners. Since most of the areas that junglers play is in the fog of war, this is one role that has uncertainties and can influence how the enemy plays. However, in recent times, a less popular opinion has been surfacing in high elo and high level play, and that is that the laner's job is to help junglers achieve what they need to do. More often than not, these include objectives, lane priority, and denying enemy jungle camps. Although these things may sound pretty simple on text, one could argue mastering the jungle is difficult due to so many different variables throughout the given game. A lot of it will come down to adaptation and mechanical execution to make sure that any situation works out into your favor. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the points that make jungle feel really strong in Season 10. 1. Your ability to heavily impact the early game. As a jungler in the early game, you generally have a lot of flexibility in which lane you wish to assist early on. Oftentimes, you'll look at which lane have crowd control and where you can naturally path towards for the most efficient clear. The great thing is if the enemy laner you're pathing towards starts pushing, you can gank them at level 3 because they're pushed up and you can secure a potential kill. And if anything, you could also secure some summoner spells. Viewing it from the other perspective where your laner has the push advantage, you can look to dive and use the priority to secure scuttle crap or even invade the enemy jungle camps. As you can see, it's almost a win-win situation. Obviously, we can always break it down to who has a stronger 2v2 or whose champion has more crowd control early on, but the options are there for the junglers to choose. Something that we haven't really touched on is how fast the clear speeds are. Seriously, have you seen that 1:6 clear where you can complete all 6 camps by 3 minutes and 9 seconds? Okay, maybe he's an outlier, but all these jungle champions clear fairly quickly and can often do so to fast reset to purchase an upgraded smite. Once you upgraded your smite, you basically have a summoner spell that can exhaust your opponent and ignites them, or a smite that deals damage and immediately slows. And all of this can be achieved between 3 minutes and 20 seconds and 4 minutes with the full clear for 655 gold to reach the power spike. By that time, AD carries probably haven't even thought about resetting yet or have probably already died to the enemy blitzcrank, and they didn't have a choice to reset. But either way, having cheaper power spikes compared to the other roles plays into our next point. 2. Games are designed to end quicker. Games are snowballed out of control way more often than not, and jungle roles play directly into that narrative. Since you can impact lanes early on and secure objectives, it's really easy to snowball games and get that win before the other roles can scale up. All of these examples include Rift Heralds, which translate to Tower Plate Gold, short Dragon Timers, Baron buffed minions, and even Scuttle Crabs to incite fighting. Since junglers are so strong, they can control these objectives and gain leads that cannot be recovered by the enemy team. Think about that one time where you see your AD carry get bursted by a Cinderhold character and complain that they're not getting peeled. It may seem redundant, but all the reasons point directly at why exactly the jungle role feels so strong. We can't blame Riot Games either because when the game lasts really long, it gets so boring for the viewers to watch. Having a role that is action-packed with fighting is a lot more exciting to watch than just watching games that just drag on and on. 3. You can control the objectives. We may have touched on it a little bit in our last point, but junglers can influence lanes and get priority on objectives. You will often see junglers ganking lanes and using lane priority gain to establish vision, which will eventually lead into the objectives. Once vision has been established, it's really hard for the other team to regain control because the jungler sits on top of a pink ward and engages on the enemy if they're trying to face check and clear. But having control over objective means that the jungler can set the pace of the game and set the team up for success, which no other role can directly do early on. Speaking of objective control, if you really want to fine-tune this, go ahead and check out ProGuides.com and get a coach today. You can outclass the enemy jungler. Jungle difference is definitely a thing, and this can definitely work both ways. But let's face it, if you compare a high level jungler to a lower level jungler, just doing the jungle clear on the same champion, roots, and runes, you'll notice a significant difference in HP and time it takes to clear the jungle. We covered it in a previous video before where we talked about 10 tricks every jungler must know to properly clearing the camps and maximizing your output and pressure throughout the game, and this is all really noticeable if you're doing it correctly. You will start to see patterns in your own gameplay where you're able to achieve more leads for yourself if you put in the effort to improve the little things. These things will include where you are starting your first camp because this will dictate which lanes you can assist after your initial clear. Properly kiting your camps while efficiently putting out damage is definitely a lot better than just standing still and face tanking the jungle creeps. Lastly, where you're completing your camps and learning to balance the aggressive bar when the jungle creeps have wandered too far can help save you time. As you can see, the main element is the time that you are saving in order to look for the next play, and this will separate the gods of the jungle to that feeding Lee Sin. Even if you fall behind, you can always force plays. Falling behind on the jungle isn't as bad as falling behind on a marksman. The reason being is due to the fact that you can still force plays. Let's say that you're trying to gank top lane and you fail in execution and you end up getting double killed. While your top laner is spam pinging you and flaming you, you can just focus your efforts on trying to get that mid or bottom lane ahead. Just don't be that guy who runs in and dies every single time and in every single lane and end up making the game extremely hard to win. Our analyst's suggestion is honing in on one lane that you want to gank and pathing towards that side in order for you to try to keep up farm while achieving what you want, which is to gank, of course. When all else fails, don't be afraid to play to that one winning lane and get carried because this is a team game at the end of the day. 6. The jungle classes. Let's bring it back and really look at the junglers this video is geared towards and which are the early game impact junglers. There are multiple cases, so let's go ahead and break down every single one in the game. Keep in mind these are not listed based on the tiers, but rather what they are classified as. Some of these may be moved to different categories, so make sure to join our Discord to discuss what you think about the list. Early impact junglers with decent mid game. This video is focused on these early impact junglers because of how much presence they have early to mid game. These junglers will have skirmishing tools to demolish one-on-ones and can provide a lot of utility and that setup. Don't get us wrong about how we ordered our classifications. Some of these champions can really turn the tides of a game in a late game scenario. Take Lee Sin for example. He's a champion that is powerful early and mid game but falls off in damage in the late game. However, you can always try to be useful by landing an insane kick to the enemy carry straight into your team at 67 minutes. Similarly, Elise has insane damage output and utility throughout the early game, but being able to land your cocoon can really make or break the late game. The potential usage of abilities are endless with these characters, but it's safe to say, for the most part, these characters do not directly scale like Master Yi or Kindred. Scaling junglers can sometimes impact the early game with a cheesy gank, but for the most part, you will usually find these champions and characters farming up trying to reach level 6 for their power spike. But oh boy, seeing any of these characters reach the late game is quite a sight to see if they're on your team. Otherwise, it's not going to be fun being on the short end of the stick. Tank junglers usually run rampant when Cinderhulk has insane buffs or if you're on TSM. These picks usually open up the other lanes to pick more aggressive characters for the tanks to play around. These picks can gank aggressively early, but you'll usually see them warding and enabling the carries. AP junglers will depend on the meta and the team compositions. It's very common to lock in one of these picks if the mid lane is an actual AD character like Zed or Talon in order to balance out the damage. Every character on this list does have the ability to impact games early on and scale perfectly fine into the mid and late game. We don't comment too much about non-meta junglers. What we will say is that Udyr is very hard to play. It feels like you're infinitely kited and can never achieve what you want to do in any stage of the game. Should the jungle position be nerfed? To be quite blunt, yes and no. Yes in the sense that the early game junglers should potentially be punished more for making mistakes instead of being able to snowball the game into oblivion. No in the sense that if Riot Game nerfs the early game junglers, we will notice a resurgence in tanks. Tanks are arguably not the most fun character to play against, and nobody really wants to watch the meta where people are constantly warding and playing safe. Being able to have hype and action-packed early game fighting is what everybody loves to see and potentially play. But let's say that we want to change the jungle. Where does Riot Games even start? Do you nerf camps, item specs, or specific jungle purchases? There are so many things to look at, but from the recent changes, it seems like Riot likes the jungle position where it's at and is focusing a lot more specifically on champions rather than the role itself. Personally, I feel like this is a much healthier approach until the mid-season changes after Worlds, where the whole game shifts. Overall conclusion. With everything on the table, our analysts believe that the jungle position is a strong role. Being able to impact every single lane and reach very fast item spikes is something no other role can do, especially in high-level gameplay where jungle and mid lane synergizes really well to impact other lanes is what makes this role so deadly. And that's gonna be it for today's video about why the jungle feels so strong. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to join our Discord below where we have tons of coaching giveaways and community events. Lastly, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and maybe even follow me on my Instagram or TikTok at Nathan_ing. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys stay safe. I hope you guys stay healthy, and you have a wonderful day. Peace.